Hello and welcome into Pajama Chat. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of sightseeing in the game Genshin Impact. Today I wanted to show you two interesting locations that I always have found interesting while playing this game. So the first is the doorway to domains. Now, I do have one or two domains on the map that have not been unlocked. I'll have to show them to you later. But right now, here's a domain that's already been opened and unlocked. You can see that the doorway has kind of like a heart going into it. And then it has this three-pointed symbol before. Now, if you saw in a previous episode, the Paimon ruins also have a three-triangle type Gothic knot, or Celtic knot, I'm sorry, and it points downwards. For the doorway, it points upwards. Also, that heart type motif, that's another motif that is repeated late in another section of the game, actually inside of the domains. We're not going into a domain though today, but I do want to show the top of the domain. So this is kind of where I think the Three Realms Gateway meets the Four Realms Gateway. So I feel like domains that have these 4 points on them date from an era that is the Four Realms Gateway. And the Four Realms being the realm of light, the realm of humans, and the realm of the abyss. And anything beyond that, outside of those three realms of Teyvat, that would be the fourth realm. And if you are up on your Genshin lore, spoilers, I'll give you a moment to tune out if you would like. Okay, you would know that the fourth realm is Celestia. Celestia, it sounds like, according to our theories, Celestia has broken through the barrier, coming into the bubble of the Teyvat, the planet, the world that we are playing the game in. And that is the fourth realm. So let's go ahead and find a domain that is not open. Currently, Natlan is the most recent expansion area, so I believe I have one domain that is somewhat near a teleport that I've already unlocked. Let me see here. Maybe not. Oh, wait, there's one. No, I've opened that one apparently. Looks like we can go to this one. So click there, navigate, and we'll go from this statue. So why do I want to show you unactivated teleports or, oh, hello, Vista, or unactivated domains? And that actually goes into something that I want to show later in another episode, which is if something has not been activated, it glows red. And that's important for, I think, more than just a visual to tell the player that it hasn't been activated, that, hey, this is red, you haven't touched it yet. I believe that that is related to something involving a power source of some sort within perhaps the world tree. So let's go ahead and make our way over there. I'm gonna try very hard not to be distracted by killing monsters and accessing treasure chests. It looks like I go up this way. Do-do-do-do. I don't believe the domain is too far away. I will hit this torch because I have a sinking suspicion that activating every single torch will do something across the world. I don't know, though. My theory. Okay. It's above me, I guess. Around the corner. Oh, no, it's a short. Oh, it's right here. Okay. So this is what a domain looks like when it hasn't been unlocked or discovered in any regard. It glows this uneery sense of red, and you can see there's these kind of like symbols, like writing symbols or something, that are square and rectangular that are floating up from it. Now, I want to show domains for two reasons. One, the pillar design for the box of the domain itself is very reminiscent of the box type pillar designs that we just saw in the Thousand Winds Temple, and that's of course very interesting. but also because this heart motif is leafy and seems to be something bigger than perhaps what we have latched onto. The other thing that I also find very interesting is if you look at the door itself. So I'm directly in the center of the door. If you look at the door itself, going down vertically on the left and the right side is a brass or gold strip. And then one step inside is a lighter stone metallic type color. And that has a triangular point that points inwards. That brassy to metal triangular point thing, that's not really on any of the Paimon type ruins that we were looking at before in the previous era. We are looking at something that is either older or newer, and the only other place where we've seen this kind of triangular point, well, we'll just have to see it later in a different episode. So this was the first thing that I wanted to show you. Let's go ahead and open up the door. Why? Because it activates a teleport point for me for later. So the second thing that I wanted to show you is all the way back in Mondstat. And it does involve architecture because, as I said, I'm a little bit of an architecture nerd. So we're going to head over here. So now our point of reference is the Dawn Winery, Deluxe home, where most of the really high quality wine in Mondstadt is made. So now we're going to look at a little bit of architecture that, well, it looks different. That's this architecture with this sort of like Victorian era filigree down it. You can see that it has ideas and remnants of what we saw with the Paimon era ruins, but the design and the stronger motif and even the way the blocks are situated together is different than what we saw before. Why does this matter? Because this is a road that leads to a section of Mondstadt as a nation called Old Mondstat. It's also known as Storm Terror's lair and the home of the dragon Dvalin. Now, we climb up these a little bit to show you that even the filigree of the archway is not the same as what we had before. You can see that like these pillars have angular triangular points and they're somewhat similar, but they're not quite the same. And that's just the way this architecture is across the entire Old Mondstat region. And Old Mondstat architecture, including the stone that I'm running on right here, is unique to just this area of the map. I don't believe we've seen anything like even these stones laid out in another area. So I don't want to go over the entire area of Storm Terrors or Old Mondstadt because it's really interesting and you can find it for yourself. So that's something that you get to explore all on your own. I do want to show that the architecture is along the whole route to the city. So we're passing ruins here, and even these little ruins right here with the archway, again, Gothic type arch, reminiscent of the Paimon ruins that we just saw at the Thousand Winds Temple. But if you look at the ground, you can see the stone structure, even the stone color, is different than what we saw before. So we're going to progress all the way into the city. And you can see that still the stones are this. Now this is something kind of new, a little bit of like aqueduct perhaps type stone, maybe. Another type pillar we can see, more of that fantastic leaf filigree. And I wonder if this was like covered in gold or silver to show the city's wealth. That would be really cool. And then you can see that like it does follow a lot of the Paimon type architecture is based around circles or shapes that are very close to being circular. And you can see that the Storm Terror Old Mondstadt type architecture is following the same sort of design. Very, very cool. I love that. So we get over here, and there in the distance is the pillar that you eventually activate. You don't have to. Well, you do for story. But there's a pillar that you eventually activate that's in the center hub of the city, and there's a whole bunch of winds surrounding around it. And if you look at the design, so this like fishbone pattern down the gigantic bridge that we're on the left and right, that's new to this area. And you can just see that, like, this was once a fantastic stone city. Pardon the PlayStation 4 as it attempts to draw everything. Also, just whenever they released Notlon, they changed like draw distances, so maybe it doesn't quite look as cool. I am thinking of doing the recording of this videos on my computer tower, and that should, your lizard, that should help with some of these things. But as we get closer to the door, you see, oh, this is a Gothic arch. This is not the circular type arch. You can see it's still got that point to it that we saw with the Paimon ruins. And then you get closer, and then you see, oh, no. It's still, you can see the filigree, this circular column that comes down. That is something that's unique to this area. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to hit the subscribe button and leave me a comment to let me know what you think. As always, I'm interested to hear what other people have to say in regards to Genshin. I go very far out of my way to try not to get too many other people's theories in my mind. Now, as a bonus, I do want to show one little section of ruins that are on the way to Storm Terror. So this section of ruins, these are still Storm Terror Old Mondstat, but you can see now that the pillars are a bit different. They have this sort of like arrowhead type point to them, but you can see the stone is the same. We have the same sort of type architecture going on here, and there's nothing in the way these stones are designed or how the arches look. The filigree is Old Mondstat. There's nothing here to hint at it being related to the creators of the Ruin Guards. However, for some reason, there is a Ruin Guard here. Why is that? We don't really know. This, however, unlike our previous Ruin Guard friend that we ran into in the first episode, he doesn't have a name. He has no identification. He's nothing super fancy. But this is another entrance into Old Mondstat, and you can see, look at all these beautiful stones that help encapsulate the city. And as we get closer, you can see this stone is not quite square and uniform. It fits this area of Old Mondstat. But it is still related to Old Mondstat. As we go in, you can see, ta-da! Again, this game accidentally made me a nerd, an architecture nerd. Because you can see that there are two different kinds of road structures. There's different kinds of filigree that they bring in. But there's a lot of hilichurls here. And there's a couple of ruin guards hanging around. And it's just fascinating. And then this kind of like totem. It's really cool. It's got interesting sort of older technology that has this oceany triangle, 3 triangles type design. I actually didn't notice that before. Of like, in my mind I'm trying to think, oh, I've seen that before. What does it connect to? I've seen these kind of triangles laid out together outside of this area. But I've also just sat and looked at the architecture for so long that maybe I'm just getting it all screwed up in my mind, which is totally possible. But you can see that like Old Mondstat did not just limit itself to one type of simple architecture design. Like just going higher in the pillars, you can see that, okay, this is like perhaps more wealth was on the inner parts of the city. And then there's pillars, and again, these pillars are always round in design, unlike the ones at the Thousand Winds Temple where they are square in design. All right, thank you for hanging out with me. Again, feel free to leave a like on this video if you liked it. Go ahead and hit subscribe. Let me know if you want to see more of this fun Genshin sightseeing type videos. Bye!